Thank you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. In Season 2 of Hacks and Hobbies, we're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life who want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around. In this episode, I get to speak with a teacher, a writer, and a speaker. Tyler Christensen. He is doing exactly what I'm doing, but he's actually a teacher. He teaches a 5th grade class, and he's into a lot of different hobbies, and we got connected through SpotAGuest.com. I know this is not a sponsorship for SpotAGuest, but they are a really cool site and service it's a free service that I recently learned about. And so through SpotAGuest, Tyler Christensen reached out to me and said, I've got a message that will serve your audience very well. So I was like, let's talk. Let's get on the podcast. So here we have Tyler Christensen. Thank you so much for getting on the podcast.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. Good to have you. So the first thing I get into is, where did your journey start from? And a lot of the time we tell everybody, and we have it on our intros and bios, a version of a journey that everybody's read about. But what's the version of a journey that no one's heard of before? There's always things that we leave out, that's probably not that important. So what's your version?
Well, so this is a great question because I don't know if I've actually ever told anyone where my journey started. I'm into a ton of different things, and part of it is because I've been in the teaching school for the last 15 years or so.
Wow.
And from the very beginning as a school teacher, I knew during summers and during the other off times, I have things that I can work on. And, hobbies are great, but hobbies that make money are better because, again, I'm a school teacher, so I don't get paid enough,
Exactly.
So I've tinkered with things for years and years, but it was when I was in grad school to become a professor where I really thought I need to find something on the side that's not just research and publishing and things like that, but something that I'm passionate about that can bring that in. And my students actually helped me with this. I was teaching a class in educational technology, and we were talking about blogging. And they said, well, and I was promoting this. I was like, blogging is so good because you develop your voice and you become an expert on whatever you're writing about. And I had done a lot of blogging in the past, but I wasn't doing much at that moment. And so my students said to me, well, what are you blogging about, Mr. C? And I didn't have an answer. So I went home that night and I thought, what am I passionate about? And it was college football. I loved watching football. And so I thought I should start a college football blog. So I did that, and it kind of grew and evolved with time. It was so my alma mater is BYU, and I started just blogging about the football team and kind of their rivalry game. And over a period of time, I started getting more and more serious into that, where I was waking up 4:00 every morning so I could do that before I went to school. And I put out maybe 100, 150 blog posts that first year.
Wow.
And didn't make much money. It was just something that, I was like, well, this is cool and it's fun. But that was about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Since that time, now we've hit over 1 million views on the blog, and I've gotten press credentials to go to football games. I interview all their players. I cover recruiting for the largest newspaper in my state now, and even started my own recruiting service. So I have a separate website now, D1 Recruiting, where I help high school kids try to get more exposure and get college scholarships. So it's really, was just this small project that now puts off, over $1,000 a year, so I can afford to go to football games and stuff like that. So that's kind of where I got started with hobbies that make money. But I'm doing a bunch of other things now too.
That's pretty darn amazing, dude. I'm pretty impressed. I'm really impressed. Especially because, you thought about it and you went after it and kept doing it. And I've been blogging for a while, but it's been never at the level that, that you started, because you were like, it's gotta have a purpose, and you got to have a specific niche so you can actually get paid to write that content.
Mm-hmm.
Mine, I mean, I've had two blogs for a while, and all I wrote about is like my mind, philosophical stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and or technology that everybody else is covering. Didn't bring my own spin to it, but this really good point. Having that ability to write and tell your story is super important, because then that can become into a book. And I see that you published a book, which
Yeah.
is really friggin' awesome.
You know what?
Um,
The cool thing with that too is so I've you can blog about anything, and the barrier to entry is so low because you can get a free blog, and it's super easy to get into, but it's super hard to get an audience. That's
yes.
to get it out there and promote it and things, and it takes time and it takes consistency.
Yeah.
My wife tried that this last year. She does home improvement stuff, and
Hmm.
she knew that I'd blog for forever, and I said, look, you just have to commit, do one a week, see how it goes. And so she did that. And she was so frustrated because for the first 6 months, she did one a week and put her heart and soul into it. And she'd get 1 view a day, 5 views a day.
Yeah.
And she was making, pennies a week.
Hmm.
And then over the summer, she was making furniture, and that really took off for her. So she didn't have time to work on the blog.
Yeah.
But over that time, because she'd been so consistent early on, now she's making $1 a day, a dollar
Hmm.
50, and isn't writing on the blog, but she has now enough in the archives that people are
Yeah.
finding it, and it's been a little thing for her. But the cool part of that too is she has enough content that I'm like, well, now you can write your first book. Let's take some of your best
Hmm.
content, put it together.
Yeah.
And she's always wanted to do that. And so by the end of this year, we're going to have her first book out, and she's thrilled.
That's so awesome. It's very true. Being consistent and having that content. So everybody focuses on who's looking at it right now. How many hits did I get? Right? Those likes. How many likes did I get? But nobody thinks about the long tail of it, because the long tail is where it's at. And that tail can go really, really long. And if you have enough content on your website, on your blog, then you're seeing those results. She's seeing those results after all of these months. And that's what I keep telling you've just got to have to put out the content, just and be consistent. And if you can't be consistent, at least do it in batches, so then you can schedule it out and then build that audience in that manner. So there's multiple different techniques, as
Yep.
as I'm sure you've learned of.
Yeah, no, you're right on. As long as you're consistent, and batching is a great way to do it. I did that early on with mine. Is I would get busy with school, but the summers were more available. So one summer I wrote like 100 posts, and then I just saved them so I
Oh
could
my
publish
God.
one or two a week during the year, and I didn't have to
Mhm.
write for several months.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so helpful. And the tools that we have available, for example, the blogging tools, they let you pick what date you want that episode or that blog post to go out. And
Yep.
that's what I did for a lot of my episodes. I just didn't plan it right. I had about 40 episodes recorded, and I was like, all right, perfect. I've got plenty of content. But instead of doing it, I'm gonna publish it one a week. I was like, I'm gonna do four a week because I'm gonna get more content.
Yep.
And I've got a big slump in the middle of, and then I was like, you know what? I'll leave that slump in there and just say that was a summer sabbatical or whatever. Summer break, kids are off.
Right.
You have time, and that's totally fine, because people want to see that realism. Because my last published episode was July 25th or something. Like I just don't have the time. I'm spending so much time with the kids, and that's the most important part,
Hmm.
having that time to spend with the kids, because they're 4-year-old or they're 3-year-old only that year. After
Yeah.
they've learned everything, they're a different person altogether, and you're going to miss out on that if you don't cash in that time.
I totally agree. My youngest is 5 now, and we're holding on to every moment because you're only 5 once. So,
Exactly. And growing up, I was, I'm so much in my kid's life, my 4-year-old and my 1-year-old. And I look at my older one, he's 9, and I was like, I remember spending a lot of time with him, but it's all a blur. And most of the times I did get to spend, it was after work hours, and sometimes we got to go out and do these things, and it just feels like the older they grow, the less time you have to spend with them, or have the hobbies to play with. So I try to get my kids involved into things that I'm into, like filmmaking and cycling and beekeeping. So cycling, they're into. My older and my younger son, they're both into filmmaking as well. They're like, let's make this film. So I was like, go act that scene out with your Lego pieces, or whatever, what have you. So I'll hear them making all these stories up. So that's pretty fun.
That's awesome.
All right. So you got into, so we've heard of, why you got into the different hobbies,
Mhm.
because one, you're a teacher, you don't make that much salary, so you need something on the side. And so what are the different things that you got into, and what keeps you motivated to keep doing them?
Sure. So I told you a little bit about blogging. I've
Mhm.
done a bunch of blogs now. So I have a blog for my teaching. I
Mhm.
have a blog specifically just for my classroom where I give
Yeah.
them resources, but
Mhm.
then another one for teachers. So I've done that. I you know, all my hobbies are things that, of course, I am passionate about and enjoy.
Mhm.
But the best ones are the ones that also kick back. So one of my favorite things that I do now, and I do this with my kids too,
Mhm.
is product reviews. I have
Ah,
companies send me stuff, and I take a picture and throw it on Instagram or make a YouTube video.
yeah.
And in some cases, I just get the product for free. So I'm getting a drone or a skateboard or a backpack, headphones, something like that. But in other cases, I'm getting paid, up to $100
Yeah.
to do something. And so we make probably a little over $1,000 a year doing that. And my kids do it with me, and then they get to keep all the stuff. So we have Christmas like every day because something's coming through Amazon, and that has been a really, really cool hobby, because it's the normal stuff that we would have in the house, or the toys that we just don't have to buy that stuff anymore. So it's really been fun to do that. And I actually did write a book about how to get started with that, called How to Get Free Stuff. So um,
Yeah.
that has been a real fun hobby.
I'm gonna have to get that book for free so I can review it. Just kidding.
Yeah, I'll send you one, no problem.
Sweet.
Uh,
It looks really cool. And my, every time, like, for example, yesterday, I ordered a leaf blower, because the one
uh,
that I've been using hasn't given me enough power, and it's an electric one with wired. And I've been thinking, I need a backpack one so I could have the mobility. And I'm reading reviews, and it's like $350 plus on these things.
right.
And I was like, let's see, well, let's check the reviews. And I found this guy. And so every time we a UPS guy is like, oh, Bob, we got your new thing, and so it's really cool when your UPS guy comes and like, oh, we just got this and we got this, and they want to open up the gifts. So this would be really cool, because then my wife would be like, what's going on? Why are we getting so many Amazon packages?
No, at the beginning when I started doing that, there was a year where we were transitioning as a family and I was
Hmm.
unemployed. And that's
Yeah.
when I started doing the product reviews, because I didn't have stuff for my kids for Christmas. And so I
Yeah.
was like, what's an easy way? And my brother told me about this company that he worked with, and they
Hmm.
connected you with brands. And so I started doing this. And
Yeah.
at the beginning, it literally was for Christmas presents. But
Yeah.
ever since then, I mean, I love it. I get home and there's packages on my doorstep almost every day, or out in the mailbox.
Yeah.
And it really is fun. I think I get more enjoyment from it than my wife and the kids do. I just love opening those packages up.
Yeah, it is. One thing that I love to do is whenever we buy furniture, as soon as it comes, it's like, let's start building it.
Right.
And it just gives you joy, because you're challenging yourself, you're learning something new about something that's like totally crazy or awesome. And that's one of the reasons that I've backed over 260 Kickstarter projects.
Wow.
And I'm waiting on this really cool slider gimbal, because being in video production,
Hmm.
you gotta have all these gears. So that's really cool, man. I'm gonna have to check out your book,
Yeah.
and probably get my kids into it, because they they've watched, kids, right? So you've hit on the nerve that's been bothering me. Not really bothering, but it's like kids are watching these YouTube channels
Mm-hmm.
where people are simply opening up candy, opening up
Right.
toys, and just
Yeah.
talking and playing with them. I was like, why do these guys have millions of views? We've got all these toys. Why can't we make a story like this and have a YouTube channel? But it's true. There's only so much time in the day, and you got to get the whole family involved and to be able to get to some things like that. So, man, we just went on a tangent here. I think we need a tangent counter.
Well, that's fine. Isn't your whole show a tangent? So
It is a tangent.
it's all
That's
good.
funny. My friend, he runs this Green River Media, and they have a Twitch show where they live broadcast every day,
Mhm.
and they have a tangent counter because he goes off tangent on a topic whenever they're talking video games or movies or whatever. So they have a tangent counter, which is really hilarious.
That's awesome.
I'm I'm gonna have to check that out. Figure out a
Yep.
way to do that. But having a live show is totally a different, experience, because then you get that live feedback. So that's awesome. So we talked about your journey. You talked about your motivations
Mhm.
and the awesome different things that you've got going on. So, and I'm looking at your website, and I'm like, okay, what's the next thing we should check on? I've been a cyclist for a while.
Yeah.
For a very young age. So, did you ever get into cycling, or did you pick a different
So,
sport?
this is a great thing to talk about because I
Mhm.
actually just on Friday this last weekend,
Mhm.
I ran my first double marathon. So I
Oh,
ran
wow.
52.4 miles. It was all night long. We started 7 p.m., ran through the night. I ran till like 10 the next morning.
Oh my
And yeah, so running is my thing. Yeah, I don't know if you've even seen this on the site, but I lost
god.
100 pounds last
Yeah,
year.
I noticed that. That's amazing, man.
So, but I can't say that I lost the weight through running because I've
Sure.
ran all my life. I gained weight while running.
Oh.
It was diet changes and things like
Mhm.
that. But we live out in the country, and I just wake up and I head out on the country road, and that's where I love to be. We actually live in a great place for biking too. We're just
Mhm.
outside Zion's National Park, and
Oh
there's
my god.
awesome biking around here. And
Yeah.
so that's one of the things I do want to get into more. I actually review biking stuff all the time, but
No
I just
way.
don't do a ton of cycling. So that's something I want to get into more. Yeah.
Talking about reviews again, just going back, my brother-in-law, he's been cycling for about over 10 years. And he wrote some reviews for, some tire and stuff like that. And the the manufacturer, reached out to him and like, hey, would you like to send us a review on this thing, and we'll give you this much, um uh like we'll give you a credit towards a product of ours. And I
Right.
told him, he even started a blog, and I was like, dude, keep doing that. You can make money off of it. Like, seriously.
For
He's like,
sure.
I don't know. Because he's very like, um, what's that word? He's very inquisitive. He's very investigative. So he'll like do a really detailed review and like 5-6 paragraphs of review for a tire or
Yeah.
a rim. And I'm like, that's the gold.
Right. Well,
That's
the cool thing with that, if you're super detailed, is if you have a blog or a YouTube channel and you
mhm.
have like the authority on that product, then you just throw up an affiliate link. And then not only are you getting paid by the company, but then anytime
Yes.
anyone buys one, you're getting some
Yeah,
kickback for that too. So that's I'm
exactly.
that's an awesome way to just start really small on the side and just
Yeah,
you don't even have to be getting paid or getting free stuff. Do the stuff you love anyways. Just start writing
exactly.
reviews for those because you can get paid as people buy it. So if you're putting value out to the world, you're going to get something back.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And actually, so this is funny. My next thing to review
Yeah.
is a cycling backpack. It's like a camelback, but it has lights on the back that tells you which direction to go. So even though I'm not a big cycling person, that's honestly my next review is a cycling
Yeah.
back. So pretty cool.
That's really, really awesome. So yeah, cycling. Since I've been cycling as well, I haven't reviewed as much stuff because I'm trying to. I don't know what I'm trying to do, man. I'm doing a lot of different things, but I know for sure that I wanna be in a spot where I can do films because I love
Mhm.
filmmaking. We did a couple of short films in 2016. We did at least one short film earlier this year. We're working on 4 different commercials and a pilot episode for a TV show. So that's my
Cool.
passion. That's what I want to go into more. And I even had some acting gigs, so that's been pretty fun experience as well. Um, but yeah, man, this podcast and talking to people like yourself is just what keeps me up at night, and like just to get like, all right, what's the next step? What's the next spot? How to get ahead in life, and then again coming back to spending time with the family.
Right.
And the one thing that keeps coming back to me every single day when I'm talking to people, remember the people that say, I wish there was more than 24 hours in the day.
Hmm.
Like, well, there are more than 24 hours in a day. You just gotta find people that will work with you.
Right. Well,
Right.
and I hear that all the time, from my students. I don't have time to do this, or I don't have time to do that. And I have tons of things I do, but
Hmm.
I also wake up at 4 o'clock.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
it's just depends on where you're putting your priorities.
Yeah, exactly. You got to have the priorities that you wake up early enough, because if you wake up at 7 o'clock versus 4 o'clock, you got 3 extra hours.
Yep.
But again, you also have to. It also depends on who you are. If you're a parent and your kid just went to sleep at 3 o'clock,
Right.
or been keeping you awake, well, it's hard to get up at 4 o'clock because you just went to sleep at 3 o'clock. So I find those days where I can get up early and do my stuff, or if I can put the kids to sleep on time at a time, then I have an extra amount of hours that I can do work. So it's been a challenge, but it's also a learning experience. And every single day I'm thinking, okay, I'm doing this for my kids. I'm doing this for my kids. This is not for myself. And even if I'm doing it for myself, I'm doing it so I'm setting an example so they can follow in the footsteps and be like, all right, this is the right way to do it, or this is how you can get more things accomplished.
Right. Well, and the interesting thing with kids, so I have 4 kids. Our oldest is 14 and our youngest is 5. And there's a season for everything. So I
Yes.
remember, being up at 3 in the morning with the kids, because they were babies or whatever.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
that they're older, I put my kids to bed every night. We tell stories, we read
Hmm.
books, and we have that quality time at night. But we also, as a whole family, we go to bed relatively early. And
Hmm.
that does give me now that those morning hours are glorious, because it's not just the extra 3 hours in the morning.
No.
3 hours from 4 to 7 is like 5 hours any other time of the day, because you're not interrupted. No one bugs you at 4 in the morning.
Exactly.
So
Absolutely.
it's great that you do it when you can.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Fantastic, man. I'm thinking that I'm missing something. So we talked about your transformation. We talked about the running and how you're able to do a double marathon. Man, how did you train for that? I mean, that's how
Well,
how did it affect your knees? Because that's something that I keep hearing. It's bad for your knees or blah blah blah.
yeah, I think knees is mostly a myth.
Okay.
With running, you're gonna wear down your joints with any physical activity, but if you're
Yeah.
smart about it, I run on trails
Mm-hmm.
and do things like that. But for me, the bigger issue is I have foot problems, and so
Mm.
I run in pain, and I've learned to run in pain because we haven't been able to fix whatever's wrong with my feet. I've been to like 10 doctors this last year, and we
Oh
still haven't
wow.
been able to get control of it.
Yeah.
So I'm just used to pain, and that's
Mm-hmm.
fine.
Mm-hmm.
But the way I train for a double is, again, I have my summer schedule's more flexible. So even though I run year round, I can put in more miles over the summer,
Yeah.
and kind of scale up. And this summer I ran actually over 700 miles over the summer. And so,
Wow.
I'm averaging more than 10 miles a day, but that's
Mhm.
because mostly on the weekends, I don't sleep in on Saturday. I'm still waking up at 4 or 3:30 and doing a 20 miler before my kids wake up. So that's how I trained, was just putting in a lot of miles. And now I haven't run in a week. It's like the longest I've gone without running in forever, because trying to recover from this race. It was pretty brutal.
You gotta be able to recover so you can go back out there.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, but it's just a lot of fun. The best part about running for me is that's when I listen to podcasts. So I love getting out there, and that's my me time, to be out and listen to a book or listen to a podcast. And I just look forward to that time every day.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome. I don't have a time that I go do out anything on my own right now. I used to commute to work, and then I'd have time to either record an episode or listen to a podcast. But currently, I'm not doing any of those. So I need to get back on my bike. That's what I need to do.
Yeah. Well, it's fun. I actually started a podcast from running, just especially as I was losing the weight.
Mm-hmm.
I would get done with a long run, and I'd have so many things that I thought about during the run. I was like, I should start recording this. So I did. I just started recording it on my phone.
Nice.
And after I had like 50 recordings, I was like, okay, it's time to put this into a podcast. So I have a little show called After the Run, where it's just whatever I recorded, and it's horrible audio, because it's just on my phone while I'm walking and sweating and breathing hard. But then I can share all the things I've learned about health and fitness, and I feel
really
good
cool
about putting that out into the world. So it's kind of a cool little thing.
That's really cool, man. I like it a lot. So I was checking out your website. Some of the links they need, since I've been a web designer too, there needs to be a HTTP to be added in front of some of these links, because they're just going as other pages on your site.
Oh, okay.
So under writing, when you have BYU Insider, when I click on it, it actually takes me to tylerchristensen.com/www.
Oh, geez.
So just
sorry, I'll have to update.
No problem. Just like to make sure you got that right.
Yeah, no, it's funny because that's one of the things we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah, we're going to get to it.
Web design, but I hardly have spent any time on my own site. I just threw it up, and I was like, hurry and get up the app, but I haven't even checked links on it. So
I need to get my site up too, because it's been a while. All right, so we're going to get into the little portion where I have some questions that I asked all of my guests. What is the one hobby that you wish you got into? And we talked about a lot of hobbies that you have.
Yeah. Well, so the one thing that I have, and you probably saw this a little on my spot, is I'm a speaker, but I did a lot of public speaking early on in my career and then got away from it. And now that I'm in 5th grade instead of college, I miss being on that stage. I miss having big audiences. And so I'm getting back into speaking now. And I'm not doing a ton of paid gigs, but I want to be, and so that's really the thing where this summer I actually met, I have a mentor that's walking me through the speaking process, and I'm doing a ton of research right now and figuring out, I want to get on a TED stage and I want to do other things. So that's really the hobby that I'm passionate about. That I've done it in the past, but I'd really like to level that up. So public speaking for sure.
Fantastic. And you've got a lot of niche topics, and that's what TEDx or TED, the TED stage looks for as well. A guest I spoke with yesterday, she's like, when I was doing my audition for the TEDx talk, they're like, what are you going to talk about? And instead of her telling her what she's going to talk about, she asked the interviewer, "Are you replaceable?" And she was like, I've never thought about, am I replaceable? And a lot of people will say, yes, I'm replaceable because, I'm doing something that somebody else can do as well. Or some people will think, no, I am not, I'm irreplaceable. So that's what got her into being a speaker. So that was a really, interesting thing to learn about, because you've got to have that unique, because if you go to TEDx or TED.com, there's topics. I mean, people have talked about every single thing that you can think about.
Right.
but only you bring your own story. And so that was a good takeaway. I spoke to another speaker who runs a company out in Florida. They help speaker find gigs and, get that message straight so they can get those speaking events and engagements. So I can connect you with her for sure.
Cool. Yeah.
She's got some really good stuff on their site uh, that can, get you next step up. I mean, you're already working with a coach, which is so important. Working with coaches
Hmm.
and having mentors is super important because that's what gets you to the next level.
Yeah. I think the coolest thing about working with a coach is you can see what's possible. And
Yeah.
so that's really, for me, that's been invaluable, is to be able to say, look, this is where I'm at and I see where you're at. How do we
Mhm.
bridge that gap? And
Exactly.
yeah.
Beautiful. All right. What is your favorite movie or TV show?
So, favorite movie of all time, and it's not even close. Remember the Titans. I love that show.
That was a really good show.
It's just brilliant. It's one that I watch every few years, especially
Mhm.
now the fall with football season. I still love football, and
Yeah.
and so it just gets me pumped up and inspired. So that's definitely my favorite movie. My favorite TV show um, all time is a show called Monk. I love Monk, where it's this detective that's what's that called? OCD.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love that show. We still watch reruns, but on that network. So going back to Hobbies, the is it USA that film Monk? I think so. Anyhow, they have
USA, yep.
they have the show Psych, which is another one of my all-time favorite shows, and The Flash and Arrow and all those shows I really enjoy. And one of my hobbies is for good 10-15 years I've done website on the design on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And 5 or 6 years ago, I thought, how can I scale up this business? And I
Yeah.
decided to reach out to some of my favorite actors on my favorite TV shows and just
That's
said,
so funny.
hey, can I build you a free website? I want to grow my business and get better name recognition. So, and one of them wrote back, Sage Brocklebank, who's on
Yeah.
site. He's Junior Detective Buzz McNabb.
Yeah, I remember him.
So he wrote back and he's like, yeah, my mom's a school teacher. I've always wanted to have a website, and sure, let's work together. So I built him a site, and then he referred me to his friend, Patrick Savangi, who's on The Flash. And so I built
Yeah.
him a site, and then they referred other friends. And, it's cool to build websites for actors, but it's cooler
Yeah.
to be friends with actors,
Oh
because
my
now
God.
me and Sage, we chat all the time, and we've worked on other businesses together. He's doing real estate now, and I helped him build a site for his real estate business, and
Yeah.
and so we chat because I'm doing some real estate investing, and
Mm-hmm.
it's so fun to just have these friends that are in Hollywood, or in this case they're up in Vancouver,
Yeah.
and just to see what they're up to and get the scoop. When they were filming a psych movie this summer, and
Mm-hmm.
he got the big show stars of the show, Dule Hill and James Roday.
Yeah.
They did a cool shout out to my kids on Facebook, and my
That's
kids
so
are all
cool.
freaking out because it's their favorite show. And so that's been
Yeah.
a really cool thing. So I have to say I love the show Psych. I know
No.
a lot of the people on it, and so that's been really cool to work with them, and of course I just love the show too.
No, that show is so awesome, and we absolutely loved the show. And I keep looking for James Roday and the other actors,
Hmm.
where they go now. And I know one of the actors, he's in Suits,
Right. Yeah. Dule
and
Hill.
yeah, and Mr. Hill there. He's actually done some other roles in other shows too. And then I was like, where's James Roday? I haven't seen him do anything. And then he showed up on Million Little Things.
Right.
And that's an awesome show too. And the character that he gets to play, and being a passionate about the film industry and the movie industry, it's really good to see that there's other angles to talk to your favorite people. And
Yeah.
I got to speak with Tom Malloy, who's a producer and a writer on this book called Bankroll, and he wrote this book almost 10 years ago, and people use this as a bible on how to find money for production and filming. So really, really, really cool stuff. Awesome, man. I love it.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking, I want to reach out to these actors and actually, talk to them or bring them on. And but that's a really cool new angle that that you just taught me about.
Yeah, well, we'll chat. I can get you some contacts, so no problem.
Awesome. All right. So you've got your favorite TV show, we got your favorite movie, and that movie is really awesome, hands down.
Hmm.
This question: what movie would you choose if you got to play a character in it?
Oh, um, so that's funny. I've listened to a bunch of your podcast episodes, and I haven't heard this question, but I've heard
Mm-hmm.
who's your favorite superhero, and so I'm going to combine these two questions because
Okay.
I would love to be Superman.
Yeah.
That would be amazing to fly. And the reason I love Superman so much is he's just a good guy.
Yes.
He has to have a weakness, so he has kryptonite, but his weakness isn't that he's tempted by things or that he wants to go and have all the money in the world. He's just a good guy, and I would love to be Superman.
There you go. Nice. So that would be your superhero, and you
Yeah.
get to play Superman in a movie. So now, okay, you want to play Superman in a movie. Which movie would it be?
I don't like any of the Superman movies, even the old classic ones. None of them are amazing. They have done a few good TV shows with him, and it almost pains me to admit it, but I loved Smallville. I know it's like a
Smallville.
teenage girl TV show, but I loved Smallville, and even the one before that with Dean Cain, the Lois and Clark. I thought that was fantastic. So if I could pick any of those to be in, I'd be in Smallville probably.
Nice, awesome. So you're discovering your powers. You're like, wait, what is this? Where did it come from? That's cool. I like that. All right, last question. If you were a board game, what would it be?
That's a really hard question. I thought about that a little bit. And the one I thought probably would be best for me is, Robert Kiyosaki, the guy who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He has a game called Rat Race.
Yes.
And I've never played it, but I've read about it and I know kind of the idea behind it. And I thought that's perfect for me because so much of my life is between, having a job and being tied into the 9 to 5, but then doing everything I want to on the fringes and, the 5 to 9. And so I think Rat Race would be a good one for me just because I am kind of spread a little thin right now. Just because of my interests, but I certainly want to have that financial freedom and I'm working towards that. And so I think maybe that would be a good one for me. I don't know.
Nice.
Hopefully it's fun. I've never played it.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. So I've played, I haven't played the actual board game because I didn't have access to it, but I did find the software version of the game and I played that probably 10 years ago. And that was a really interesting game. I learned a lot about real estate, learned a lot about stock because they start with, so he teaches you first, you learn about, because you have little amount, you start with a small capital. To make that small capital large, you start with the stock market. Sure. Once you've made sizable amount, now you can invest in the real estate area. So it was a really cool. I learned a lot, and I wish I played more of it to get even more detailed understanding of. But they teach you pretty good for a beginner level, so you understand puts and like how to set up puts and how to set up. I can't remember those terms anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's funny in real life. When I was learning how to day trade and doing puts and stuff, it felt like a game. When I first started doing day trading, I'm like, this is a game. It's not. This can't be real. This isn't real money, But and I quickly learned you can lose that money really, really.
Oh yes.
I did penny stocks in Blockbuster. That was a mistake,
Yeah. Wrong timing.
Yeah, but I love that with the Rat Race game, and I need to get a copy of it because I love that you can learn about the real world. It's an educational game, and I love the whole concept behind it. I think that's really cool.
Sweet. Well, that That was an awesome board game. I haven't thought about that in a very long while. And so Rich Dad Poor Dad is an amazing book. He even mentions in there, give it to your 10-year-old. They need to learn this as soon as they can, because money is something school doesn't teach.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I teach 10-year-olds, and I'm actually reading Rich Dad Poor Dad right now to my class. So
Yeah.
I'm doing it,
So you're an awesome teacher, man. That's what we need. My son will be in 5th grade next year, so I'm going to get him started.
It's an awesome grade. It's a fun one to teach because kids are, discovering what they're capable of and their potential. It's an awesome time.
Fantastic. Well, so the last question, is where can my audience find you?
The easiest place is just tylerchristensen.com. Apparently I need to check some of my links on it, but that's redirects you to all the other things I'm doing. So if you go there, then you can connect with me through social or through some of my other sites. And if you want to get the How to Get Free Stuff book, it's linked up there and stuff like that. So
fantastic. I love it. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
This was a very, what's that word? Very informative and very practical episode for myself, because I learned so much about you, and I see how you've, created different sites for different things that you're doing, and actually put in the time to make that flower or that plant grow, and then step aside and then work on different things. So that's really awesome. I love it.
Thanks, appreciate it. I certainly have a blessed life. There's lots of cool things going on, so it's been a pleasure to talk to you about it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tyler. We'll talk soon.
All right, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode on Hacks and Hobbies. We absolutely appreciate your contribution. You can find additional notes on hacksandhobbies.com. Please share the podcast with your friends and tell them what you learned about our guest today.